No Castle Group today?
Scott
The
should
county
be-
votes, so I'll show you.
should definitely be here.
Scott told me yesterday he'd be here.
Oh, yes, yeah, if he isn't, I'll be a little upset
This
to
is
say
the
the
one
least.
question.
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order, it's 2 o'clock. We have present members, Nancy Olson, Bob Gebert, Ron DePonte, Phil Leasy, Nancy Hall, and Joe Schofield. John Grega is out of the country. So we have a quorum, and you'll note that the minutes are not in here. They, in my first glance at them, they require a giant editing job, and I just haven't gotten to it. And I'm at my wit's end, frankly, about the damn minutes as to how we should handle it, because the minutes we get are, in my opinion, not useful. You know, this time it almost looks like she did them verbatim. It went on and on and on. And I'm not quite sure what to do about it, but that problem we have to take on at some point. We got other things that are more important today, so I'm just gonna leave that go. Financials, I think we need to get into this, Nancy,
Okay.
right away. If you want to start to lead us through.
All right, Chris hasn't brought back my original, but the first page in here does have one in color so that you can actually see the pluses and minuses in red.
Yeah.
So this is based on actual expenses through April now, so I projected them out over the year for the ones that need to be projected. Anything that's a contract, I met with Castle Group yesterday. The landscape contract at the top, you know, the shared expenses of 88,000, there could be a slight change in that. Scott was gonna check and make sure that they hadn't built in like a small increase in that. Annuals are increasing both in the shared and sorry, I'm losing my voice today. Anyway, annuals are increasing, so the first half of the year, the first time they installed them was much more than it had been in the past, so I just doubled that because when I talked.
Is it good on there for you guys? Because I think Chris tried making copies, but
Okay.
it wasn't working.
This is pretty clear in here.
Yeah, this is.
Yeah.
Okay, when I looked at it, put it on a bigger piece of paper, I thought it would
It
fit on
got
there.
blurry.
Yeah, well, it seemed to be all right on that one, so that's why
Yeah.
I kept it.
Okay, all
Okay,
right, so
all
we're
right.
just using this one, yeah. Okay, so anyway, annuals are going up. Things like tree trimming, I left the same because it really hasn't happened yet this year for us to have anything to base it on. So anything like the tree trimming and plant replacements where we've really had nothing happening yet, I just left it where it was. Pressure cleaning, we only had 550 in last year's budget for the shared expenses, and Scott's told me for next year he expects it to be about 21,000. You can see this year it's already 10,000, so we were way under budget for that. But overall, for the shared expenses, we're actually projecting a little bit a decrease over last year. A lot of it's due to irrigation repairs and maintenance is lower than it had been.
The pine straw is part of it, is that right?
The what?
It looks like the pine straw are charged
Well, what I did.
down below, right?
Yeah, I talked to Scott about that yesterday. All of the pine straw got charged to the wrong account, so they're gonna do an adjusting journal entry to split it the way it should be for this current year. So I just took the total of the pine straw and divided it up between the two for the upcoming year.
So, so that, but oh, okay, so it is, there's no change then, 19.5?
Yeah, if you look down
Yeah,
below.
okay, got it.
Yeah,
I'm
pine
with you.
straw down below is already at
Oh, the same.
39,000.
I'm with you.
So I kept both of them the same as they were last year, because the two of them combined were pretty close to last year's figures. Anyway, electric has gone down in some cases. I'm not sure why that is, but if you look at entry feature utilities, the first one, They're well below what we projected, so that's helping to offset some of the other things. The things down below that are going up substantially are the landscape contract, because we didn't budget for any of those new things in the Prado area this year. We got all those small contracts going up to Casella, one along Prado Drive. There's like 3 or 4 small contracts over there that were not in last year's budget. We didn't know about them when we did the budget last year. Annuals are going up there too. Gateway irrigation, we had no knowledge of that when we did the budget last year, but based on expenses so far, that should be about $6,500 for the upcoming year.
So this is the charge from Gateway Utilities for,
This is the irrigation expense over in the Gateway area,
yeah,
for the water over there.
That's our share of that?
Yeah,
Community.
yeah, for the common areas.
Mhm.
Because their homes are metered directly,
right.
so this is just the common area.
Mhm.
For access control, which is Securitas, the $20,000 is for the additional guard, because the $374,000 is our contract. And last year, we had the additional guard for 3 months, and Scott's gonna recommend it for 6 months this coming year. He thinks we need it starting probably in November, just because of the increase.
So
But
this is-
this 20 would include
Reasonable.
that.
So
Yeah.
this is for the full 6 months, not just an increase
For the-
of 3? This
For
is
the full 6 months, yeah. Our other increased area,
The feature fountain maintenance, you skipped that one, Nancy.
feature fountain maintenance.
Scott?
Yeah, that one, per Scott, he thought it was gonna be about $5,000 this year. I'm not sure what repairs he's expecting, because that's a little higher than projecting it out would indicate, but, that's what he.
Scott, it might be of value if you would come to the podium and
There's, do you have a packet? 'Cause the budget's in the first page.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Feature fountains represent,
Scott, if you just,
Scott Sharnoff,
thanks.
Council Management,
Thank you.
Pelican Preserve Master Association. Sorry.
Feature fountain,
Feature fountains, if you're aware of it, you might not be, all of our feature fountains are, all the equipment's below ground. They're in vaults. So they are requiring more maintenance this year. We had one that flooded. We have recently started to do service for rat control because we've had rats in the pits. So when that occurs, then they start eating all the electrical wires. So we have had several maintenance issues that were unexpected, but now that we know they're there, we're gonna have to plan for them. But that's what those feature fountains are.
Okay, so we already talked about annuals, landscape contract. The next bigger one is the sidewalk and road repairs, and that's another figure I got from you, that you were expecting $30,000 in sidewalk and road repairs this year. So that's an increase of $6,000 for the year.
Excuse me, Nancy, do we know how much Gateway budgeted, because there's an account on your side?
that's right, and that's a question, Nancy, that just came up. Who sets that budget on the Gateway side? Do you know?
I don't.
There, and Michael seems to think it just probably has been rolling over
It's been there for a long time.
for years.
Yes.
And this is under operating expenses on the, the Gateway
Right.
side. And they have in $5,000 for roadway sidewalk maintenance.
Is that within Pelican?
Yes.
In the O2 account.
In the O2 account,
Yes.
they didn't tell us.
As opposed to our share of common ground?
Well, yeah, I'm not
Gateway.
quite sure what this one is for.
Yeah, because we have the other gateway.
It's been there forever, like the
And-
waterways.
And do we pay anything out of that? Are you aware?
I have no access to what comes in and out of that account.
And the only, as what I know of is sweeper man. That's the only one I know.
But that's only a, well, that might be 5,000, about 500.
It probably is.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Sweeper man.
Sweeper man.
Um, Yeah, it just seems kind of crazy to me that we have this split
Between the two.
between the two,
So-
and you never see, and so you don't get to see what's going into this part of it.
I don't see anything that goes into
And
the
in
other
fact,
part of our budget.
Yeah, well, there's the part that's allocated, and I
Mhm.
can see that, you know,
Right.
the 10% that we get that's gonna
Right.
get 14%. But the, I guess I'm confused on the operating expenses. It seems to me that, well, some of them are allocations of salaries and things like that, but there are 4 things in there: engineering fees, attorney fees, road and sidewalk maintenance, and miscellaneous, all of which come directly to us, but you never see them.
No.
I'm not-
I can see the line item that they're in the budget, but I cannot see any detail as to what they're used for.
Right.
Was anything charged against it? Does it show?
This doesn't show, this does not show. No, it shows, this particular thing shows, well, in fiscal year 2017, there was $1,936 charged against it. And
So do we wanna, should I talk to Stephen Bloom about that too? See-
yeah,
Okay.
It should just be one account to keep it all straight.
yeah.
If it's covering the same thing.
Yes, it seems to me it should be in one account. But it also, even further than that, Nancy, it seems to me that for the engineering fees and the attorney fees that are charged, and this miscellaneous account, whatever that is, that are charged directly to us, you ought to be seeing the invoices.
The only invoices I see are what Castle Group pays. It's the only thing I see.
And these are ones that are paid by the district.
Yes.
When you look at the district budget, we have that one line item, HOA agreement.
Agreement, right. And that's it.
Everything we pay through Castle Group goes into that one
One
line.
line item.
That's the only thing I see.
Yeah.
I think in prior periods,
Sorry.
we have asked that some of the road work be done or sidewalk repairs be done by Gateway. And if they come over and do it,
It
then
comes out of there.
It comes
It
out
comes
of
out of
there.
that, okay.
And I seem to remember a discussion a couple of years ago, just the minor repairs where, I don't know if it was when they were turning something over, but anyway, that some minor repairs got done through Gateway.
Scott, this issue that Nathan Shaw brought up about the sidewalk or the road at the corner of Ravenna
Yes.
and Trieste.
Yes.
You asked Scott or Chris to take care of it, right?
Yeah, and the only reason why is when there's an issue with the roadways around utilities or curbing, any curbing is done through the district because they have a vendor to do curbing. We don't have a vendor to do curbing, but I do know Chris was having trouble getting somebody out for such a small job. But the problem still remains is that corner that's collapsed is around the utility. So that still needs to go through Gateway.
Now, and if it goes through Gateway, does Gateway eventually charge it to us?
I'm curious because you say utility, because
Mike,
if there was,
maybe you ought to come up.
if there was something that you guys had, like Chris come do for the roads where we had one of our vendors go and do it, then that invoice would come to us in Gateway's name. But knowing that it would be for Pelican, we would pay it directly from our road too, and that might be why you do have a little bit in there. But Sweeperman, I think, would eat up most of that anyway, so it would seem low. Now, the thing is, though, if it's around utilities, that would also depend on if it's our utility, that could be completely different. Where's
Well,
that at?
but, yeah, that's around the city of Fort Myers utilities, but the reason why
Okay,
we don't touch it is because we don't have vendors that, if they're working around a utility, like
Right.
the utilities in the street on the gateway side, they need your expertise to be working around that.
right.
Plus, we don't have a curbing vendor for concrete.
So most of our sidewalk repairs have been actual to the sidewalks, like.
Correct.
There were some where they were uneven and they had to
Tree
be
roots
ground
or-
down.
Right.
Yeah, all of those
That's
go
the-
right through us. There's only been 2 occasions that we're doing something through the district with concrete. One was an asphalt repair around Gateway Utilities on the corner of Prado Drive and Cypress. There was a big
Big
pothole
hole.
there. They actually did the work there because it was around their utilities. And then whenever there was a curbing issue, I go through Chris for curbing. So this year, there's only been 2 incidents.
But Michael, you say in those cases, and by the way, for a minute taker, the other voice you're hearing in this thing is Michael Kraft.
If it had to do with our utilities and it was, then that would just be the enterprise fund, that would have nothing to do with you or 001. But if it was something like curbing on one of your roads and you contacted Chris to bring one of our vendors out, that invoice more than likely would come directly to us.
And that
So we're not
hasn't
gonna
occurred yet.
reimburse.
And it would be paid out of 002, but
002
not out of
directly.
that
No.
line for
I-
the HOA
I don't,
agreement.
I don't touch that account
Right.
except for your whole replenishment.
Not in the, yeah, it would be in operating expenses, the category operating expenses as opposed to the HOA agreement account.
Right.
And you know, now that I think about that account, did you guys do maybe some tree trimming along your roads?
But
That
we-
would have come directly through like our vendor or
No.
anything?
No,
No,
no.
That's Lansdale's to ours.
Yeah, that goes through ours. I'm not sure we're gonna settle this today, but it seems to me that we ought to try and grab these accounts that are in operating expenses and at least get, the invoices ought to go through Nancy for engineering fees, attorney fees. We may wanna combine, at this point, I'm not sure we can do it very effectively, but we might wanna combine eventually the road and sidewalk maintenance thing.
Well,
All except that they may need it for that, okay, so.
well, the engineering and attorney fees are usually for very specific
That's right.
things.
That's right.
Like John Gregor calls
Yeah,
and
yeah.
says, help me with the
Oh, yes,
agreement.
and I talked to Tony, yes, and
Yeah.
I'm aware that, and those are the things where we go directly to the attorneys or directly to the engineers.
Mhm.
And that's fine, except we ought to at least be seeing,
We are actually over budget for that line on the 01 budget.
When you say the,
For the roads and sidewalk maintenance, under operating expenses, we're over the $5,000 budget.
I just saw that a minute ago in the financials,
Yeah.
as of May, or no, as of
April probably.
April.
Mhm.
But we have no clue what we paid for.
But we were over the entire year's budget already, not even just the year-to-date budget, but
Mhm.
we're over the
There's
5,000.
obviously something you guys did, I can go ask her to see what was paid from that account,
Well-
unless I can find the vendor, but that would be extremely hard
Yeah.
for me to guess.
Yeah.
Well, it's something that I guess we ought to try and dig into a little bit.
Okay.
But it seems to me we ought to be following, I understand, we have direct contacts with Tony, and we have direct contacts with Tetra Tech, but, we ought to at least be seeing the invoices, it seems to me.
And to that end, Michael has agreed to submit, they do submit bills to Mike.
And just because of timing though, what you guys would see would probably have to be a copy, because we wouldn't be able to add another week and another.
No.
We don't want
and
approval.
so-
Right.
You
Right.
still just, this is not
Information.
approval,
Okay.
informational
Just
sharing.
information.
Period.
So he'll share that with you each
And
month,
that's-
and if you share
that's-
with me,
Attorney.
whatever on pod, and then I'll catalog all that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
That's the only way I would.
Okay.
And that way, at least we are occasionally getting to review the bills, which makes sense. Diane,
You know, I see every bill that gets paid out of the HOA line. And any questions I have, I go to Scott and
Yeah.
we get them clarified.
Mhm.
and I see every bill that comes in the waterway.
In the waterway.
But I don't see the lawyer and the engineer, and we should.
Mhm.
I'm using them, we gotta
Yeah.
pay for it, but we ought to be aware of what we're spending.
And I've been using them too. Safety and
Yeah,
security
safety and
work
security,
group
right.
have used them. And I used Tony for some general things, so we ought to be seeing this, but.
And Nancy was using them with the bond fund back when we
Yes.
had that to do. So
Yeah, right.
A lot of good reasons to use them,
Yeah,
but we ought to at least review the bills against.
yeah, okay. Nancy, keep,
Okay.
Okay.
Well, one last question for Scott before we leave, the sweeper man bill, who initiates that? Why did they
That's-
come, who started it?
Sweeper man would be through the district.
It
not
is through us.
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't know if you guys just jumped on our agreement with them. We get 2 separate invoices, but I don't know if you guys just said, we use them, can you tell us how much it'll be to run through there, or how exactly that
We did,
happened?
this group did not do that.
No.
It could have been, our supervisor that said include Pelican.
Yeah, but like,
Didn't know about it.
so Sweeperman is the one that
Been
I
doing
see-
it for
I see
years. we
Sweeper
should know.
Man.
cleans the.
Yeah,
the
I see
gutters.
Sweeper
Yeah.
man.
It's been years, been going on for years.
And Castle does a contract with
Yeah.
Superman.
I first heard about Sweeper Man when we first started to get feedback about flashing lights in the middle of the night.
Oh, they're the guys that were running
Yeah.
out?
They do come,
Yeah.
and when our street was still under construction, they came through every night,
Yeah.
every
And
single night.
So assumedly, they are not covered in the O&M agreement then, if you don't see them,
No,
Don't see it?
you know, okay.
no, they're paid through Michael.
Thank
now,
you,
is
Mike.
that something you got, you're paying it.
Yeah.
I mean, is that something you guys want, or?
Yeah, I don't see any reason to
opted, or
change it.
I don't know, okay.
Yeah, they don't wanna change it, they just wanna see the invoice.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Well-
sure it's
Yeah.
like $350 a month.
Yeah, that's one thing.
And I guess I'd like to know what we get for that, like how often are they cleaning?
I
Like
believe
I
it's
said,
once a
I
month.
saw them every night when they were doing construction on my street. Now I see
That'd
them
probably be Lenore.
every couple months. I might see them.
It was Sweeper
I
Man?
thought Lenore was
Yeah,
sending the
Lenore
sleep
may be
trucks
doing some
through
of that.
Yeah, Lenore would be
Yeah,
doing that,
for
there's
the
no way they're
construction.
sweeping every night for $350 a month.
No. No,
Just
so,
if we could get a scope of work, what do they?
Okay.
yeah, how often are they clean, how
Yeah.
often are they
Yeah.
doing it? And-
Yeah.
Okay. All right, street lighting repairs and maintenance is the other one that, was a little bit higher this year than we had anticipated. And when I talked to Scott, that was for the damage on tree line after the hurricane, a lot of that. So, I'm not sure, I probably could take that one back down to the 15,000 of last year. What do you think, Scott?
You could, plus we're going to, we were gonna get our new street light on tree line today.
They
We
were
were.
working at
But,
that.
We were.
but.
Somebody hit the footer again.
No.
You're kidding.
Yeah, we don't know when. Somebody hit it though. It's crooked. Somebody actually hit it over since we straightened it.
With the little dwarf pole?
Yeah, somebody hit it. Found that out today, so.
Okay.
We're,
The guy that
we're
wiped
working
out,
on it.
Not the guy that wiped out the trap gate.
Yeah. Well, it might have
It
been.
may have, you never know.
He might have done the other side of his truck.
Maybe. Okay, well, I'll take that one back down to this year's then,
Yeah.
since it was primarily hurricane damage that we're still paying for.
And do we, I know Bob's getting some reimbursement for hurricane damage.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about that.
Are we getting any for any of this other stuff?
I don't believe so. That was, Chris was doing that as part of the master
Yeah.
plan, so,
It doesn't look like we're getting.
no.
It didn't sound like it, because the way Chris described it, they can allocate it however they want it.
The state.
In the state level.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We probably don't seem real needy.
Mhm.
And streetlights and trees aren't high on the list.
Mhm.
And then most of our damage was streetlight, trees, and the perimeter wall.
And they were really difficult on those things.
Yeah.
Like, they wanted GPS coordinates of trees, and when, I know sometimes the vendors came in and ground them out right away, we had to go get those GPS coordinates like 6 months after the fact, when they were all grassed over, and
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But we'll
think-
know better next time.
Yeah, I
Well,
think that's
they-
a point for the future.
Yeah, and I know our staff has been going out and getting them, but it was just, I don't wanna say funny, but we were working with FEMA for like a year, and every month, it got stricter, so it's like you didn't even have a standard to go off of because.
It
it
kept
just kept
raising the
changing.
bar.
Yeah.
Making it more difficult.
I'm sorry, so it was the street lighting and repairs you're gonna bring back to last year?
I'll take that back to the past year,
Yeah.
15,000.
Nancy, could you go, I somehow missed it, the irrigation repairs and maintenance,
Let's see, where are they at?
that's up 76524,
There it is.
yeah.
They've been a little higher than we anticipated this year. We're at 12,000 already out of 15,000 year budget, so for some reason, there's been more damage to the irrigation.
Mm.
I don't know, Scott, is any of that related to them upgrading the system at all?
No.
Or is that's totally separate?
That was purely computer, electronics, and anything that had to do with the satellites, the 37 satellites, that was the individual neighborhoods.
Yeah, so I don't know why it's higher this year, but.
Is
for
this
some
also
reason-
repairs on damaged sprinkler heads on tree line?
Yes. Damaged sprinkler heads, check valves, valves have
Everybody,
been the
every
biggest.
time
Same
somebody have a problem with
things-
their car, they pull off the road on tree line and they wipe out 4 or 5 sprinkler heads.
Yeah.
Scott, would this also be Cypress Grove? I mean, with all of the additional, improvements upon Cypress Grove, I think there would have been a number of irrigation repairs
There,
and such as.
actually, we had to do a third of the Cypress Grove had to be repaired.
And even in the past 2 months, I'm seeing very frequently gushers on Cypress Grove. It seems like
Yeah.
there's still a
I mean,
continual problem there.
Yeah, we're all familiar with these things in our neighborhoods. This is a cost that you can't get a handle on
You
because
can't.
you just don't know.
And the community's grown,
Huh?
so we have more incidents of opportunity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Just
and
gotta go with a bigger
I know,
number.
as I say, in each of the individual neighborhoods, it's a struggle to get a handle on it.
Just go with the bigger number.
Yeah.
I think those are the big ones. I mean, ant control went up a little bit this year, but we have a bigger area because we have all Cypress Grove and Prado Boulevard to do. There's a lot of ant hills out there. The boardwalk repairs, that was an estimate from Scott of 12,000 this year for that.
What are you gonna do with that? I mean, because this is not bridges, obviously.
You know, it's just-
This is.
We'll
boardwalk
use the
itself.
remainder of that budget up this year on the repairs on the boardwalk.
Right.
The boardwalk's to a point that we have to have a company come in and do it.
Okay.
So when Stokes Marine is out here doing the work on the bridge replacement, then they're gonna work on the boardwalk also for the repairs.
Okay.
But, ultimately,
bad
we're gonna
shape.
have to look
Oh, yeah.
at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
But,
We don't have an estimate yet to replace the boardwalk?
Well, yes.
oh, yeah,
we're-
yeah, the
we're gonna be
original
we're gonna be
estimate
talking
was,
about that.
it's over a year old, it's 358,000
Yeah,
to replank it.
we're gonna be talking.
Okay.
So, then, for what I listed at the bottom as capital projects, Scott gave me an estimate of $45,000 to paint the walls, a tree line wall, the bridges, I think at the flowway going down towards Plazo, going into Trentino, because those are the 2 bridges we were gonna
Yes.
paint.
But not Casella?
Casella, I don't.
No, because
No,
it's
it's
new.
new.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't need
Okay.
Casella yet. The guard shack and the pergolas.
Correct.
Then there's also structural repairs to the colonial entrance and our entrance that they're estimating at about 100,000 this coming year. For those great big fountains.
Now, and we're gonna have to look at that and decide on how we wanna proceed with those monuments. Now, if you recall, going out of the community on the left, there's a small pergola area with the wood. All that wood was replaced, I think it was, what was it, 2 years ago?
Yeah, I
2
seem to
years
remember
ago.
we did a big repair there.
Right.
Yeah.
$27,000.
Mhm.
Those front monuments are 4 times the size of that. So you're looking at an enormous expense to replace all that timber on those front 2 monuments. So that comes out to about $50,000 per monument. And that's just a budgetary number.
And
But
that's-
we're gonna have to decide, is that ultimately what we want to do going forward? Yeah, I mean, it should last about 18, 20 years.
Well, they're currently made out of wood, and we replaced them with truck wood or something. We did something different on the magnets 2 years ago.
I'm not sure what you replaced it with, but whatever the wood it was, oh, no, it wasn't, no, it's wood.
That's
I
what-
thought we went from wood to composite.
No, that's for the, well, that's what I'm doing
The
now,
bridges.
for the bridges.
Well, I know that, but I thought we did it first with the pergolas. I remember a discussion about that.
I do too.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, because we had a choice. It was two prices, and we chose the higher price material. We didn't want to.
I must admit, I don't recall that, I must admit, yeah.
I'll have to get up on a ladder and check it, because from the ground, it's
Looks like
wood.
We'll have to check our insurance policy first,
What's that?
if you're going up a ladder.
Oh.
So the $100,000 is for the fountains at Pelican Preserve and Tree Line.
Correct.
And what about down at Colonial? The big fountains down there?
No, that is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
okay.
We're not talking about the ones
Okay, that's what I thought.
on the corner of Tree Line
Mhm.
and Colonial.
And Colonial.
Those two large monuments are what we're talking about.
And there's a
here.
lot of wood there, you said it's double the
Oh,
wood?
yes, yes. Take a look at them. It's a lot of wood.
I only see the fountains, but okay, I hear you.
Yeah.
And they're starting to be in bad shape from what Scott's told me.
Yes, they are.
And this stuff, of course, is not, that's not covered in our capital.
No, but we could use it.
Yeah, I mean, if you assume that that's a capital expense, you can still take the money out of that
Right.
account.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, we haven't put money in there specific for that,
Mhm.
but if it's a capital expense, if that's what it is.
Now, let me ask.
This
you
is a
question.
replacement, not a repair.
No, yeah, it's a capital,
You're
you know,
taking
whether
one
it's
out and
replacement,
replacing it.
repair, it's still capital because of the cost of it.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
That's in the shared part of the budget, so some of that should be coming out of the top
Right.
budget, right?
Right.
Not, it's not.
Scott's thinking
Uh,
about his wheels are turning.
Well, the top is shared with commercial.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, that's
But
what
I
Nancy's.
do not believe, I'll have to check into that, I do not believe the commercial is responsible for capital repairs or replacements. They're responsible for the operational costs. I'm gonna have to check into that.
Yeah, please do,
Yeah.
because.
Because I don't believe, because they're paying for the footprint of being within Pelican, so I believe it was only shared expenses with the operation.
Well, they're sharing the cost of the landscaping down the median,
Yeah.
and there's.
Yeah, but I don't know if the capital is involved, I have to look and check into that.
Hey, what do we need to do going forward? Should you investigate costs for us?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that seems perfect. And when we're doing it, will we get a fountain that'll go up higher than 3 feet? When I first got here, they were nice, tall.
We can do whatever anybody wants.
Well,
I've
that's what
always said that.
Well, I was always told that the pumps were degrading.
Pumps have been replaced, so, no, it has to do with, yeah, it has to do with your pump pressure, but it also has to do with type of nozzles you have in the fountain, the fixture itself, for as far as if you want more of a dramatic display.
Well, when I bought, I had a more dramatic display.
Well,
Since
and
then-
and would that be affected by our water pressure issue that we have while we're waiting for the new water
No,
tower to
no,
go in?
Not with the pumps are creating the pressure.
Yeah.
And the nozzles, and that's where, that affects how much volume you're getting and how high they go.
It's like a pool with an autofill. It autofills the level of the tank. The pressure and the feature is controlled by a separate motor and fountain nozzle.
Anybody else feel like they want more pressure, kind of like what Colonial's got?
I'd like it a little more dramatic.
I mean, I've actually heard that from residents. This isn't me, because I don't ever notice.
Well,
You know,
Can be done.
when you look at it.
You said you just replaced the pumps,
Yeah.
so.
It's
it would require
basically,
replacement of the pumps
what
again.
we're replacing is,
Yeah, maybe just dial up the pressure.
you'd be replacing the nozzle, the actual fountain itself, to a different fixture.
Well, it seems to me that's something that we'll ask Scott to take a look at what that would cost when we do this, right?
Maybe if it's
If it's another 20,000, I'm not interested, but if it's 200, I am.
Okay, 200 it won't be.
Um, And as we look down these numbers,
Mhm.
you know, and this does not include, let's talk for the moment about Ron's
Like quick analysis.
analysis of what we would have to add to the reserves to cover the future costs of redecking. At this point,
This is the boardwalk?
Hmm?
Yeah,
The boardwalk?
and
The
the
boardwalk
bridges.
and the bridges,
bridges.
and the bridges. It's in your package, and his conclusion would cost, add 35,000 a year to our reserves. So rather than 330, we would go to 365.
Okay.
And we ought to take that into consideration when we're looking at the totality of things. So
Is that $100 more per household per year?
Mhm.
3,000
Ah,
residents, 25,
2,500 households.
$115 a year.
Hmm? Yeah.
$150.
I mean, I think that one's worth doing. My concern is now, let's say we throw that in. That would put the total HOA agreement budget at about $1,790,000,
Now,
which would be,
that's including the $100,000?
that's including the 100, yeah.
But if you
I'm
take the
starting-
100,000.
Yeah, right.
Out.
That's the thing
And
that
get it out of the
That's
capital
the thing
budget.
I'm starting to get to. That would get us to $1,790,000, which would be, you know, a $185,000 increase over last year's budget, which is a big number, you know. That would be well over 10%. And I
Plus
don't,
another 4% on top of that for
Our share of Gateway.
our share of Gateway. You said it's going up to 14 from 10?
yeah, except that's not the HOA agreement. That's what we get
Yeah,
allocated.
but I mean, in terms of the bottom line to our residents.
Well, yeah, except the numbers are, yeah. If we looked at that in terms,
Because there's a lot in there too that's going to impact it.
yeah, those expenses are, let's see, 30,000, 95, 170, and that would go up by about 4%, so that'd be about another $30,000, I think, very roughly, if I'm calculating it correctly. Yeah, you know, we're talking about gulp kind of numbers here, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, but if you take 100,000.
But I think we ought to
out,
take that 100,000.
and take it out of the capital account.
Or could we take that 100 out of our unallocated reserves?
Well,
We could.
sure.
Yeah.
Sure we could.
I'm-
As long as it's not allocated, absolutely.
Hmm?
We
Sure.
could very
Yeah.
definitely do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to make the community be too flush for the future residents, because I won't be. So I'm willing to pay for more short-term kind of things. I
Well,
know
yeah,
long-term, but
except, I mean, we gotta think in terms of what a kind of a reasonable increase might be for the year.
well, that's what I'm afraid of. I don't want it to be too high,
Yes.
Right.
the increase.
I
I mean, we
agree.
already have a hell of a lot more than all of Gateway.
Yeah.
So if we
Yeah.
take that $100,000 out of our unallocated reserves, that's gonna take us down quite a bit as far as increase.
Mhm.
Well, yeah. Now it's a more palatable number, obviously.
Mhm. Yeah. It would still be roughly about a 6% increase, I think.
That's pretty high.
That is pretty high. That is pretty high. And that's the reason, as I say, I'm doing these calculations very roughly, but the 148 would go to 185, and then if we're getting a bigger allocation from Gateway, 14% instead of 10%, that's, I think, would take us to about 215. We took 100 out, that's 115. That's still, you know,
Well, the other thing you could do,
8%, yeah.
so let me think about that for a second.
Why don't we just defer this consideration until a year from now, and see what the impact is of the node change coming from Gateway, and then take this up at a later time?
This be,
Just
This
being what?
being worrying about the redecking, et cetera. the future capital.
Oh, yeah, just, it was, don't allocate extra money.
Don't put
for
it
that
in this year at
purpose.
all, knowing we're faced with the change in the split.
Mhm.
Using your 115 by 25, it's about 46 per household.
46 per household, but the percentage increase from last year is about 8% though, isn't it? Am I right about that?
Right.
No, it's less than that.
It's less than that.
100, it would be 100 and,
If we take out the $100,000,
Yes.
treat it as capital, but add 35, we're at what, 58, 60, $83,000 increase?
And then I'm saying that I think our increase that we're gonna get from
Gateway?
CDD, it would be about another 30,000, I think.
Well, we'd be at about 4.5% with our, on our line,
You're right,
plus their 30,000.
they're 30,000.
That's too much for 1 year. Let's just
Well-
push this discussion
Well, all
a year ago.
along,
Well, let's,
all along, we've been saying each one of these, and we've been pretty much in the ballpark of increasing, unless it's a contract, by 3%. So no, it should at least go up by 3. It's
3%.
gotta go up probably more for some of these special things.
Mhm.
well,
and-
if we take the 100,000 out, right, the extra money is the 45,000 for painting.
Right.
If we could take that out of unallocated,
Mhm. Yeah, that would,
and then you're,
then you're.
it's basically a 0% increase, except for the 4% that Gateway is increasing.
Yeah, I could
I
support
mean,
that.
if you wanna explain that to the community, say, well, they're charging me 14% versus 10, and that's $40,000, whatever the number is.
And we can still allocate some of the unallocated funds to go into the reserves.
Well,
If we're worried about all that
That's right,
unallocated money
yeah.
sending there.
That's right.
Yeah,
We can move it
that's
over.
my point.
Yeah, that looks like a fat target, but
Why
it's-
don't we
It
move, yeah, we could move 35,000 from the unallocated,
Right,
and, for this year.
Mhm.
right.
But we're gonna have the same, we're just pushing it down the road, because next time we're gonna be increasing our budget by probably 3% per
Right.
category, and then we're gonna say we're gonna layer the 35 on top.
Well, this is offsetting the 4% increase from Gateway, really what it's doing.
But
We were
that's
saying
a-
our budget is gonna be 0% increase.
But that's gonna be there next year too, the 4%.
Right.
for Gateway. That's not.
We keep deferring it, and eventually it's gonna catch up to
And it's
us.
gonna be a bigger number.
Well,
Gonna be
I
bigger.
Well,
guess, I
well-
don't feel like we've been deferring things. We've been forward-thinking, putting money aside for reserves far.
Well, of course,
as
that's the reason we
everybody
have
else.
so much unallocated reserves. But the capital projects painting, 45,000, assumedly we won't have that next year. And so,
Right.
we
There's
could,
money.
Okay.
there's the
That
30,
takes
there's
care
the
of the
30,
14,
there's the
4%
35
increase.
that we could have for next year. In other words,
But you're not including it this year, so it wouldn't matter. You're saying we're just gonna take it out of unallocated reserves.
yes, we're not,
So-
this year, we're gonna take it on unallocated reserve. Next year, we'll take it
It will be
out, we'll actually eat it, we'll take it out of the budget, but it'll be offset by the fact that we don't need $45,000 for repainting. The
I'm
45,000.
kind of with Nancy, it seems like we're taking the same money twice.
No,
No.
no,
Okay, okay.
there's $45,000 in here, in the current budget,
In the budget.
in the current budget.
That we want to take out,
That we,
That we'll take out.
I got you. Okay, I'm with you.
right?
So
Okay.
somewhere in our unallocated, we're finding,
yeah, you're right, right. We're taking, I was thinking we were just taking the 100 out, but we're
Yeah,
taking
no.
145 out.
If we take both
You're
of them
right.
out,
You're right.
then we're taking that much money out of our unallocated reserves.
Yeah, well, we're gonna have to figure out next year.
at the peop, you know,
Well,
we're
pre-
kicking that can down the road.
Well, that $145,000 bill will be there next year.
Yeah.
I mean, if those two figures weren't there for this year, would we be worried? We'd have a 4% increase based on the Gateway increase.
Well, the gateway increase doesn't quite explain the difference.
No, but I'm just trying to
Yeah.
say, it just pretty much,
Yeah.
right? Well, those bills go away next year. We're not gonna have those bills. Now, we may have some other bill, I don't know. It's a possibility.
But, you know, you guys are taking our potential increase here and then the 4% of Gateway. But what you have to think about is you've got this total assessment.
Yeah.
Part of it is our line, part of it is theirs. And we want to keep it to 4% overall. Well, their 4% that they increase their portion of it doesn't affect our portion. So we don't add that 4% on top of our increase.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know how to explain that.
I'm
Well,
ready.
when it comes to-
The total expenditures currently, and that's having your budget in at the 1,277,000,
Mhm.
Nancy.
Right.
And that's having 330,000 in the capital program.
Right.
Michael, could we get copies of this, at least the 002 budget, so people know what I'm talking about?
The budget that I handed you out today?
Yes, that you handed out, the pages that just cover 002.
Do you want the allocation one too?
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, it would be good to have the allocation on too, yeah.
is the back part of it here too?
Yes, it's in there, it's in there.
So we should see that.
Yeah, because the total budget is really 2,560,000,
Right.
right?
So if we're looking
Correct.
at a 4% increase on the total budget.
Yes,
That's a lot different than what we're talking about. We're
Yes.
talking about a 4% here and a 4% there, well, really, it's only 4% overall.
Bob, can I assume that the budget they have in here for you is okay?
Yep. I don't see any reason for that. Waterways will be stable from here on out.
Okay. So we're talking about the HOA agreement part of this thing. If we do what we're thinking about with the 145.
If we had a 4% budget increase overall, we'd be talking $102,000.
$102,000, right?
So
We could leave.
our portion is only gonna be a small percentage of that right now.
Right.
But I think a 4% money is a big money myself.
I don't think
I'm
we'll be
not
at
comfortable.
4%. I don't think
But
we'll
I'm
be
not
there.
comfortable that that would be our target.
Yeah, but Bob, every one of these categories, we're talking about a 3% increase. So
Well,
we've got a
but
baseline of 3.
But I'm suggesting
Yeah,
that
so-
even that's high. Why would we automatically assume?
Inflation.
Because we've been spending it for
I
the
know.
last few years.
Well, I know.
Well, and a lot of the contracts have a built-in, usually about a
Escalators.
3% increase annually. Utilities go up every year, some years.
Some of our-
Nothing in the waterway contract goes up a nickel.
But,
Three-year
but your
contract
budget
goes
went up, if you added ponds to your program, the budget would go up. If you added ponds, am I right? We're adding the rest of Pistoia, Prado,
Okay,
et cetera.
okay, good point.
We're adding that.
I did it last year. Now I
Right,
realize-
so now we're
I'm
adding
with
the
you.
rest of
Okay.
that, so that accounts for a certain percentage of the
Okay.
increase.
Nancy, do we know,
Which won't be there, the increase
But
won't
you're
be
right.
there next year.
the thing I'm looking at is the fiscal year 2019, oh, that's 2019 budget.
That's this current year.
Yeah, that's the current year, okay.
And our budget was the 2.5 million.
Right, 2.56, is that
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And the comparable number for this year, we don't know yet.
We don't know yet, because we don't know what, we're just assuming a 4% increase from the district for their.
Well, just based on
portion
the
of it.
formula change,
Yeah.
from 10% to 14.
Yeah, that's right.
For nothing else, no cost increase.
Nothing.
Right. Change in
And-
formula.
And the amount of costs that we get from the district, you know, which is in effect, that are in effect overhead costs.
Yeah, go that way.
Sorry about that.
You know, the amount of costs we get from the district into 002 are 30,000 for administrative services.
You talking about the current year?
66 for operational administrative services,
Yeah, 66.
66.
Mhm.
That's 100,000.
And then there's the 76 in operating expenses.
Right.
So it's 170,000.
How about the utility? Where does that come in? Because there's some in utility too. that-
The utility.
Utility account that's allocated to us.
I'm not aware of that.
I don't see that here.
It doesn't show here.
Should be. Which one is
I'm
the
gonna ask Mike when he comes back in.
I thought all the
I'm
utilities
sorry.
were in the enterprise.
I'm sorry, enterprise, that's
Enterprise, yeah.
Yeah.
There's no enterprise that gets allocated to us.
Uh-huh. Because of the water that part of Pelican gets.
But that's
directly-
specific to homes.
That goes directly to the homes
I
that
don't
are
know.
getting the water,
Oh,
not,
yeah.
not as a general
But there's
allocation.
overhead for all the people that run it and everything else, and I don't think those go directly to the homes.
No, the overhead, you're right, the overhead comes to, is part of the split.
So we're all paying for the overhead for that enterprise.
Associate for water? I don't
Yep.
think
Not
so.
physically for the water, but for the people.
Or
that
managing
pay.
the water.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
For a small portion of Pelican.
So that, if that's correct, that's inappropriate, because
Well,
we don't
that's-
get this, everybody is not getting that service.
That's what I'm saying.
But you think there are numbers in there for that?
I'm pretty sure there are.
I don't see
Well,
where they would be.
I thought we had this discussion last year, and it came out that that was what went into the rate that they charged their customers.
That's
It wasn't
built
being
into the
generally
rate.
allocated to every household.
So it's not an allocation of directly, it's when they compute their rate, they encompass all of the
Yeah, but
overhead.
it's the water rate that goes to the people who get the service.
Right, and they
not
encompass all the
everybody else.
overhead expenses.
The only portion of salary headcount over here that comes to us in the 30, 20, 10, or whatever the new allocation is we pay for a portion of L's salary. Now, we also pay for, district manager and Michael accounting services, the admins, receptions, but then the only physical person is a small portion of L. We don't pay anything for the public works, stormwater, or any of those people. So I know where you're coming from, Nancy, but we're not currently paying for those as a community. Now, the people that get the service may be paying for that support staff.
Appropriately. If you go to the last page, the very back of the last page.
Looks like this.
Yeah. That shows you the staffing allocations. Is that what you're talking about?
Those folks that are paying that won't be involved with us getting reclaimed water either.
Correct.
Will only be only certain people will be benefiting from that.
Correct.
No, this doesn't show any of the allocations back here to funds.
L is the only one, natural resources supervisor, comes under Pelican Reserve.
Yeah, but this doesn't show any of
Oh, it doesn't have that in there?
it. Not on this page.
Okay.
Yeah,
When Michael comes back,
Yeah. Here's something that I love, there's differences. Under operations. It used to be we paid for a portion of Tish, but he's not here. And then the only other one who pays L. So L is right here.
we've got
But that's up top. Up top we have,
10% for the.
district manager, the accounting guy, and the up top. Usually Diane and Julie.
Yeah, I know, but here, under operations, we've got a 10% allocation for the manager.
No more. That went away.
That's in this year's budget.